first opportunity to talk to the new unified champion, Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
Let's talk about the new top dog.
Well,
the new top dog. I said last week that Sputnik McGraw was one time a top dog, then it went to Fargo, then it went to the King, and now it's around Double J's waist, the new top dog. I told everybody, I didn't threaten anybody, I just promised everybody that Double J, his time had arrived. Oh, and it sure has, hasn't it, Lance?
Well, you got the belt right there, and that's proof of the pudding.
Proof of the pudding. Oh, Lance, this is a glorious day for Double J. You know, I said it was going to happen. All right, Lawler.
Well, here comes Jerry Lawler out. Let me get in between you two guys. We were just talking about the new champion.
He came out here to congratulate me, I hope. Well, you can keep on hoping, Jeff.
The following show is a Pod Avenue production. You are cordially invited to have dinner with the King. Pull up a chair and join WWE Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler and Glenn Moore. Enjoy.
We are back at King Jerry Lawler's Memphis Barbecue Company here in Cordova, Tennessee. In Memphis, Tennessee. I'm chowing down on some smoked sausage here, like I always do each and every week. And King, what do you got over there this week?
Well, I've got my, you know how I am. When I find something that I really get a taste for, I kind of stick with it. I've once again gone with the smoked sausage sandwich and the waffle fries, the sweet potato waffle fries, and then I'm going to add a little banana pudding. You know, I'm back on my low-carb diet, but then when I come in here, I have to, it's like a cheat day all of a sudden. But, it's so good. Have you tried the banana pudding yet?
You know what? I have. I usually don't like any banana desserts, but here at the restaurant, I really enjoy it.
Well, good. That's wonderful. And speaking of here at the restaurant, did you know what we're coming up on at the beginning of next month? Well, we're going to celebrate it March 11th, but it's the 1-year anniversary of this restaurant being open.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a year already.
Well,
I know. So on March 11th, we're going to do what we did for the grand opening week. We came out here and we set up a ring right outside the restaurant, and we did some live wrestling right there in front of, right behind our restaurant is this huge Super Target and this huge Walmart store there here on Germantown Parkway. And so we set the ring up right beside our restaurant and out in front of Target. Tons of people come by, and we're going to do some live matches. It's going to start at noon on March the 11th, and we're going to celebrate our 1-year anniversary. We're going to come on out and have lunch, and then I think that we're going to have some contests. We're going to do all sorts of fun things that day. Wrestlers on hand taking pictures and signing autographs, and then we're going to have some live matches starting around 2 or 3 o'clock, something like it. Just be out here at noon. It's going to be an all-day affair. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's March the 11th, Glenn. So, and that's a Sunday, so you're going to have to stay over and be here for that.
Well, get the guest room ready.
Oh Lord, the guest room ready. Does the mega bus run on Sundays?
Every day, I think. Hopefully.
Oh, really?
I guess we'll find out. I guess we'll find out. Well, you know what March 8th is, though.
March 8th. What is that?
That is the 1-year anniversary of Dinner with the King. That's the first episode 1. So it's almost going to be 1 year of the podcast.
Oh my goodness!
That's going to be a very good weekend to celebrate.
Yeah, that's a big weekend. We just have to have a big double celebration. Really will have to stay over and come down on March the 8th and then stay over till the 11th.
There you go. Well, like I said, get the guest room ready.
The 8th is 1, 9th 2, 10th 3, and the 11th is 4 days. And you know what I say? Fish and company stink after 3 days. So you're gonna have to be ready to go as soon as the anniversary is over there.
Well, make sure you got the fridge well stocked too.
Oh my goodness, you can eat.
All right, let's get on to the podcast. We have a very special guest, and I know that we don't have guests every week or every month of the podcast throughout the course of the year, and when we do, it's a rare occurrence, but also a very special occasion when a guest comes on Dinner with the King. This week, with the news of his Hall of Fame induction in the WWE, we're going to have Jeff Jarrett on the show.
Man, that's for sure now. I mean, he's definitely calling in. We're going to be talking to him in just a little bit, right?
Yeah, confirmed. I talked to him a couple of days ago. He was, King, I know you don't like, you hate to bother people when coming on the podcast, because
I
I know
do.
you hate being asked to come on podcasts and whatnot. But whenever I do ask somebody like Bret Hart, even a guy we're talking about shortly, James Ellsworth. I mean, they are glowing. They respond immediately to come on the show, and that's what Jeff was. Jeff was, I'll do anything for the King. You just tell me the time and place, and I'll come on. So Jeff Jarrett was very excited to come on, and I think he's only done a couple of interviews since the announcement of his induction. So he's making the time to come on the show.
Well, that's cool. And of course, I don't know how many people realize how far back Jeff and I go. I mean, I've known him since he was just a little kid. Of course, his dad, Jerry Jarrett, and I were partners in owning Memphis wrestling for 20 plus years. And I actually helped train Jeff a little bit, worked out with him a couple times when he was before he even got started. So I'm really excited about the fact that he's getting inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, and we'll have a lot to talk about. I don't know should we talk more about the old Memphis wrestling days, or should we talk more about his WWE days, or what?
I think I'm just going to sit back and let you two guys just talk it out for the half an hour that we were able to get from him. And
oh, come on, Glenn! You got to jump in there and ask some embarrassing questions like you always do.
What? I asked some good questions.
What? Hey, that's my line.
But no, I think we only have a half an hour with Jeff, but I think he'll be more than able to come on in the future to talk Memphis WWE days more in depth, because I know you guys have stories to last more than a half an hour.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? We got probably 30 years worth of stories, maybe. Going through YouTube and finding some classic audio, I have some of the first promos that Jeff did in Memphis, and one of the first times we actually saw him, talking to a camera by himself was on your show, the Jerry Lawler Show, back in '86. Yes, that is true.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Jerry Lawler Show. We're going to be talking to Jeff Jarrett a little bit later on in the show and let you know what's going to be taking place Monday night at the Mid-South Coliseum, plus a lot more things. So you stay with us. We'll be right back with the show after these words. And it's time for our viewer mail segment, and our letter this week came from Kathy Hester, who lives out in Germantown. She had a question for Jeff Jarrett. Since Jeff wrestled last week, kind of started wrestling, she was wondering if Jeff's size, which at the time, right now, everybody realizes he's a little on the small side, if she wondered if that size, lack of size, is going to be a disadvantage for Jeff. And here he is to answer that for you.
Well, thank you, Jerry, for having me on the show today, and thank you, Kathy, for taking an interest in writing in this show. Yes, I think my size right now is going to be a disadvantage because all the other men in wrestling, they're weigh well over 200 pounds, and right now, I'm right at that mark, a little under. But my dad, he's got me lifting weights every day, and I'm eating good, real good every day, and I hope in the years to come, hopefully the months to come, that I'll be getting bigger, and I can use my size will become just maybe an advantage, but right now it's a disadvantage, and I'm going to be trying and having to use my brain a little bit and not use my body as much. I'm going to try to outsmart them. And thank you, Kathy, for taking an interest in me, and thank you, Jerry, for having me on your show.
He was a nervous wreck, and I think I remember watching that first interview thinking, ooh, he's got a ways to go. But he got there. I mean, here he is now going into the WWE Hall of Fame. Wow.
And then I have when he was a referee, and he was getting beat up by Buddy Landell and Dundee, and when he was a referee, and actually, his father, he talked about, Jerry Jarrett coming out, helping his son pull off Dundee and Landell. So I have some audio from that. So I'll be sprinkling in some classic Jeff Jarrett audio from Memphis time. But I think I'll let you just guys, talk when he does call in, and you guys can just reminisce however long you like. Okay?
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. Really looking forward to that today. And I don't get mad. I appreciate the fact that you, Glenn, go out of your way to sometimes, run down these guests and line them up to be on the show. But it is true, like I said, I feel uncomfortable asking someone to do what I'm not really comfortable doing. And I think they probably agreed to come on. I don't know. I don't know why. I really don't know why they agree to come on. But I appreciate the fact when they do. But
Well, yeah.
So maybe are you pushing for? We should have more guests or what?
No, I mean, I think if it's a relevant topic for that week or something newsworthy happens, like Jarrett making the Hall of Fame, you guys just have a deep history that I think it's worthy of him coming on because you guys can talk forever about anything.
And sometimes, like I just had lunch yesterday with a guy that's become a really good friend of mine, and he loves to listen to the podcast. And he's a Major League Baseball umpire, Andy Fletcher, and he lives down here in Memphis. And as a matter of fact, he's taking off. Maybe today he's heading down to Florida for spring training. But he's always got some great stories. I try to have lunch with him at least once a week or so, and he would be a great guy to have on. I'm going to have to get him to call in and be a guest on the show. We don't always have to talk about wrestling, do we?
No.
We can talk with him about all sorts of stuff. Matter of fact, I was talking to him yesterday about the fact that the first game that he's umpiring, I think he's going to be in Jupiter, Florida. I believe he said first game he's got is Mickey Callaway's first game as a manager.
I want to if we had him on, I'd love to talk to him about the new role they put in for the amount of times they have mound meetings.
Listen, he talked at length about that at lunch yesterday. He really did. He told us the whole story.
Did he
Apparently,
does he hate it or does he like it?
Well, judging from the way it sounded, it's still up in the air as to how that's going to work. I mean, apparently lawyers. I mean, it's not really. I don't think baseball people that are coming up with these new rules. They're just so intent on shortening the length of the game that now they've got actually legal people involved who are coming up with these ideas about exactly about how to shorten the game, and they're going to stick in all of these new rules that quite frankly it sounds like there's, I don't know, some of them sound like it may be impossible for them to work, but the rule's going to be there no matter what.
Yeah.
One of the things, like you said, the amount of visits that can be made to the mound.
It's dumb. That's the dumbest because it's not just a coach walking out to change a pitcher or it's a player going to the mound to calm the pitcher down or talk strategy. If that's going to count towards the mound meetings for the game, it's
right.
It's stupid. It's dumb.
Now you apparently what he said was they can go to the mound, and I don't want to tell all this stuff because I think we can get Andy to come on here and actually be a guest, and he can explain it much better than me. But apparently, say for instance, the third baseman can go to the mound to clean his shoes. The pitchers on the mound, they have that thing where you clean your spikes. Well, apparently that wouldn't count as a mound visit, but if he goes to the mound to clean his shoes, the third baseman, and he says something to the pitcher, then boom, that's a mound visit.
That's ridiculous. It's just another thing. It's just, the whole I know they're not going to do it, but they talked about it. Having a pitch clock. You got to throw the ball within a certain amount of time.
That is, no, they are going to do that.
No,
yes.
I think that was voted. I think they're trying it for minor league games, but Major League Baseball, I don't think there is a actual pitch clock yet for this season.
Well, here's what Andy was telling me. There's going to be a clock. Another thing they're trying to shorten is the time, like when they go to a commercial break. I guess a commercial break, or between innings rather. Between innings is 2 minutes and 5 seconds long.
Good.
Okay, so and the commercial break, of course, is 2 minutes and 5 seconds long between innings. So what they're proposing is that as soon as they come back from the commercial break, that pitcher has to be in motion throwing the first pitch of this next inning.
You know what?
In other words, they can't come back. He will have to has finished his warm-up pitches in 2 minutes and 5 seconds, whether he's thrown 10 or whether he's thrown none.
Well, I don't mind. I don't mind that because you're not really disturbing the flow of the game. Usually it takes a long time. If we're going to a game, it takes a long time between innings because there's all the commercials and all the ads.
Yeah,
I'm in favor of cutting down that time. I'm okay with that. It's if you're taking away from the game itself, like the mound visits and the guy taking his time, pitching the ball, or a guy getting out of the box to change his gloves or adjust his gloves. then I'm getting upset because you're kind of disturbing the whole
right.
game of baseball.
Six mound visits is ridiculous if you ask me. I think we've seen games where a catcher might go out to and talk to a pitcher 6 times during an inning.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden there can only be 6 mound visits. That's counting the catcher talking to the pitcher or the managers or the pitching coach talking to the pitcher.
Well, you know why they're doing this? They're catering to the millennials that have short attention spans, and they go to the games not because they want to watch a baseball game. They go to the games to go with their buddies and drink for 5 innings, and then leave. And they don't care about the baseball game. They're basically going to a bar that has a baseball game just playing. It's like going to a bar that has a band. You're not going there because of the band. You're going there to drink. There's so happens.
Yeah, and that's sad because true baseball fans, and I consider myself a true baseball fan. When I go to a Cleveland Indians game, I don't care how long it lasts. I mean, if it goes extra innings, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I hate to see the game end.
It's a sad world. Everything needs to be rushed now. Everybody needs to be rushed.
All right, so we'll try to get Andy Fletcher on pretty soon and talk to him.
Get me all heated about that.
About baseball. I know you're a baseball guy. Me too.
I know. Get me heated about the stupid rules. Now I'm all flustered for this Jarrett interview.
Oh no, you'll be okay. We'll be all right.
Well, speaking of being flustered and upset, I was very upset over the weekend, King, to learn. We talked about on the show last week. James Ellsworth was a guest. That when it comes to the results of what happened on Saturday? Friday in Maryland, it said James Ellsworth pinned Jerry Lawler. What is up with that?
Yeah, what is up with that? Well, I tell you what, that whole experience made me appreciate and realize, thinking back years and years ago, from the time when Terry Funk wound up getting me into that empty arena match, because Terry complained at the time. He said, man, the minute I set foot in Memphis, Tennessee, which is Jerry Lawler's hometown, everything goes wrong. Everything goes bad. Everybody's against me, from the taxi cab driver to the person that checks me into the hotel to the taxi cab driver that takes me over to the Coliseum, and then all the ushers and the people that work backstage at the Coliseum, and then the referees, and then the fans. He said everybody's against me. Lawler has everybody in his pocket, and I used to poo-poo that, when I used to say, oh, come on, get real. Well, let me tell you something. That's exactly what I experienced when I went to Glen Dirty, Maryland. Have you ever heard of that place?
I have not, and I don't plan on going there.
Well, I think it's actually called Glen Burnie.
Oh, okay.
But even the people that live there refer to it as Glen Dirty.
Do you say with all the burnouts or something?
Yeah, the Glen Burnouts. They're not Glen Burnies, they're Glen Burnouts. That's the people that live in Glen Burnie. And so, I mean, here was the deal. That's where James Ellsworth is from. Mm-hmm. And so when I get there, I immediately, they have this meet and greet thing, and these people are coming up. And I actually wound up asking somebody later, as I'm seeing these Glen Burnouts come up and ask for autographs, and I'm looking at these people from Glen Burnie. I actually asked this one guy. I said, I want you to stand up and let everybody take a good look at you. Turn around, and then I said, I want to ask you one question. I asked him. I said, if your parents get a divorce, are they still brother and sister? And so, I mean, that's the way this place was, right? So, and like I said, everybody, when I came out for the match, everybody was against me, and it was just, especially. I mean, obviously, everybody was big buddies. Gilbert was there, and Gilbert and James Ellsworth were like, I don't know who trained who, but they grew up together, and one of them trained the other one. And can you imagine if you're James Ellsworth being trained by Gilbert?
I can't imagine that whatsoever.
Yeah. Well, anyway, all of these people I think they maybe not only were all good buddies, I think they possibly were all related. And that was the problem with wrestling James Ellsworth. The referee was obviously his brother-in-law or his first cousin or something.
No, I know who it was.
Who? What?
It was Michael from Michael's Jewelers. He heard the podcast. He was upset with you.
You're probably right. Where they sold the advance ticket. I got to tell you though, whoever did sell the advance tickets, I think Gilbert. I think if you got booked on the card, you were required to sell X amount of tickets, and Gilbert had sold like 25 tickets or something like that.
You're the draw, King. You're the draw.
Oh boy, I was the draw. It was packed. I got to give him that. But it was like this venue. It had this big room. This big room had chandeliers hanging down in it. And I can't remember. I don't know if I can remember wrestling in a place with chandeliers hanging down almost in the ring. You know, they were like right to the right on the either side of the ring. These big gold chandeliers hanging down. But everything got off on the wrong foot right away with me and the referee, and so it was just one of those situations where the referee cost me the match. I mean, I had the match won. First of all, I gave James Ellsworth a pile driver. He bounced up about 6 feet off the mat, and then the referee waited. Finally covered him. The referee waited all day before he started counting, and finally, when he got to count up to 2.5, he said, "Look, I can't count anymore." And I said, "Why?" "Just count to 3." And he said, No, I can't. And I didn't know the reason why. And then he said, "Turn around and look." And this is like 10 seconds later. And then I turn around and look, and James Ellsworth had his foot on the bottom rope. Now, I don't know when he put his foot on the bottom rope. I don't think he had it there within the count of 3. But that started the first heated argument between me and the referee. Then after that, towards the end, at the end of the match, I was in the one corner with my back in the corner, and Ellsworth was like doing, all these everything illegal that he could think of. He's using his fist over and over, and the referee's not saying anything. So finally I got tired of that. So I just reached down, I sweeped his legs out from under him. And so I guess maybe, I don't know if my foot might've been on the rope behind me. I didn't even realize if it was. And the referee counts 1, 2, and then he taps me on the shoulder. He says, No, your foot is touching the rope back there. That's giving you extra leverage. And I'm like, what? My foot's not touching the rope. You say, yes, it is. You got to let him up. So I get up and I get in the referee's face and I shout, and this is where I made a mistake. I might have shoved the referee. I might have put my hands on the referee, and that really made him mad. And so anyway, I shoved him back into the corner. I turn back around and I go over and I start doing the same thing to James Ellsworth that he had been doing to me, right? So I punched him a few times. And then all of a sudden, he reached down, he sweeps my legs out from under me, and I hear the referee count 1, and then I can even see Ellsworth puts both his feet all the way up on the second rope for that extra leverage, and I hear the referee count 2, and I'm just waiting for the referee to see it, like he said he saw my legs, and then sure enough, the referee stops, and he looks up, and he sees Ellsworth's feet on the rope, and he just shakes his head and counts 3.
You were screwed.
How could something like that fly?
You were screwed,
Unless
King.
Anywhere except Glenn Dirty.
Glenn Dirty. I was, I didn't know what was going on because it doesn't seem like this place has a social media presence. I had to rely on other people tweeting about it, down like on Saturday or Sunday. But there's a video on there I posted, and it shows it clearly that Ellsworth has his foot on the rope, and the referee saw it. King, I don't know what to tell you, man, but I was very disappointed.
Well, I don't think I'll be traveling back to Glen Dirty anytime soon.
It's Michael the jeweler screwed you over.
Yeah. And did you hear? I think they had a tornado there like day before yesterday, and it did $100,000 worth of improvements. What?
James is a very loyal listener to the podcast, and I'm sure he's probably...
I want him to hear this. I really do.
People love here's a question for you. I mean, I know you go on you're obviously wrestling a lot on the weekends, and you usually go, and you're the goodie, Jerry the King Lawler. The fans love it; they want to see you.
Right. The very next night, I came back near home here in Memphis or Millington, Tennessee, up by the big naval base that we have here, and I wrestled, and everybody loved me, and it was it was such a piece of cake.
Yeah, but I know you relish, this grilling James on the podcast, and I know you love grabbing a hot mic and walking to the ring and just ripping on fans and your opponent. I mean, you don't get to do that very often nowadays.
No, you don't. And sometimes that's fun. And it was fun.
Sometimes,
so
all the time. Come on.
What do you mean all the time?
All the time.
So you think that's like the real me that gets to come out there on occasion like that?
I know that you love doing that. I know
well,
you.
I did. Okay, all right. I had a good time. I'll go back to Glenn. For that, I shall return to Glenn Dirty.
Glenn Dirty. Well, make sure you take a shower before and after. Before you leave, before you get there, take a shower, and then after you, before you leave.
At least they did put me up in a nice hotel. They did. Well, it wasn't right there in Glen Dirty. It was out of town a little bit.
It wasn't
real nice hotel.
It wasn't one of those places where it was like a hotel/deli, and you got to go to the deli counter to get your key.
No, this was real nice. I mean, the towels were so plush, I could barely get my suitcase closed. It was a. What is it?
Oh, all right. Well,
anyway,
did you see really quick? Ellsworth now has a intergender championship belt.
He does?
Yeah, I guess.
Wait a minute. He's trying to rip off Andy Kaufman?
He has a belt. It's half blue, half pink, and he's going to wrestle women, across the indie scene. He has a list of ladies that he wants to wrestle. So I guess he's going to put this belt up, he's going to travel like Andy Kaufman and wrestle, women. And, maybe James will be the new intergender champion. I mean, who will win the fight? James Ellsworth or Andy Kaufman?
Oh, are you kidding me? Andy Kaufman.
Wow.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Poor James. Thanks for listening, James.
I'm gonna see if I can find a promoter somewhere. Maybe Burt Prentice up in Jackson, Tennessee at Oman Arena or something. I'm gonna see if they can bring James Ellsworth down here to my stomping grounds and see what happens to him down here.
Oh my Lord, that would be terrific.
Yes.
The 2018 version of, well, I'm not gonna even give Ellsworth the credit of having Andy Kaufman, the 2018 version of Andy Kaufman, but that would, to relive that kind of the glory days of that feud, 30 plus years later, that'd be terrific for Memphis.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. You just gave me a great idea.
There you go. All right. Well, King, there's a little bit of tidbit of news.
Hey, before we get into that, real quick, and then the next night I was in Millington, Tennessee.
Okay.
We had a great crowd and a great show up there. Then I jumped back on a plane and flew back up to Reading, Pennsylvania. For what a great night I had there. I did an appearance with the Reading Royals hockey team. And, man, everything there was just really, really nice. They had over 5,000 fans turn out for that game.
Wow.
And Royals won 6-0. And I literally started signing an hour before the games, before I dropped the puck. I stopped for a second to go out and drop the puck. I stopped for a few seconds to go out and do a little something at each intermission, shoot some T-shirts up into the crowd with a cannon and all that kind of stuff. And then right back to sign. I signed for the entire length of the game, and then they had to cut the line off when the game was over. I mean, it was the biggest turnout that they had in a long, long time. Maybe was a Sunday. I think that was a Sunday game. But anyway, they really treated me great. So my crown's off to the Reading Royals up in Reading, Pennsylvania, and I'd like to come back there and do that again sometime.
All right, King, the hotline's lighting up here, and this has to be very special guest for this week's show, a man that you know very well, not only personally, but also his family. His name is Jeff Jarrett, and just announced earlier this week. We talked about it before, King, but just to remind everybody, he was announced as a person to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame for the year 2018. That's going to be happening WrestleMania weekend in April, so we had to get him on to talk about that and some classic Memphis wrestling. His name is Jeff Jarrett.
Wait, I thought down the wrong number. Is this Lawler's podcast? Oh.
Yes,
no,
actually, it's the restaurant, Jeff. We're here at my barbecue restaurant out on Germantown Parkway. But yeah, this is where we do the podcast from.
Ironic, I can't get in. The guy wouldn't let me in. Tell Benton Hales that I do know you. Just get through the door. No, I appreciate you guys having me on.
Do you want to place a to-go order?
Yeah, I will. Karen will be by momentarily to pick it up. So she's got the credit. She's got the credit card. So go for it.
There you go. Then let me just tell you right off the bat, big mistake. I learned that with Lauren. Don't ever let them have a credit card.
Of course not. No, thanks for having me on, guys. I've been looking forward to this ever since Monday rolled around and Glenn did the invite, and he can tell you there's digital proof. I said, I can't say no to the King. Of course I would love to do this podcast. So thanks for having me on.
I appreciate it, Jeff. And Glenn knows this, and we've told people this from the get-go when he talked me into doing this podcast. I hate to call people and ask them to be guests on the show because I know how much I hate to be called and be asked to be a guest on a podcast. So, Glenn, I leave that dirty work to Glenn. But, we really appreciate you coming on, and this is a special time with you just being announced as a new member of the WWE Hall of Fame coming up. And man, I mean, what day did you find out about it?
Wow, it goes back into January. So it's been, and you definitely can relate to this, as many years as we go back. It's been under wraps, and I don't know. Obviously, I'm not around, but I've known since early January, and so for it to be held under wraps in this business, a secret that long, and I've had some texts with folks within WWE. We were all very, very pleasantly surprised that word didn't get out. There was a little bit got out a couple of days before, but so I've known quite a while. It's been really cool just to sit back and watch it. And then when the news broke on Monday was fun. It was a lot of fun, and I've got some of my closest friends here in Hendersonville that I see every day. There's a group at the gym that I see, and then obviously there's other groups and friends and buddies and all that I didn't tell. And that's, that's part of this business and how fun it is. They were shocked. And, of course, You get the old, Jesus, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, because it was none of your business. And truth be known, and you can really relate to this, I didn't even tell my dad.
Wow.
The only people that knew were obviously Karen. And then she left as women do, she left the computer screen up, and there were some dresses and stuff like that. And then there was another screen left up about travel. And our teenage daughters, Kira and Jaren, as teenage daughters can so well do, they put two and two together about a couple of weeks ago. And Karen had to break down and tell them. So it's been a secret, and that's been the fun part of it. I was given strict orders to keep it hush-hush. And so, as you know in this business, King, the fewer the people that know, the better chance that it gets out. So I certainly did my part, and the guys at WWE obviously did. And so it was fun. Monday was really fun. And
of course, this day and age, well, it started a while back, but with the dirt sheets and all of that sort of stuff. But now with social media and all that, it's almost impossible to have anything be kept a secret in wrestling, or anything to be a surprise anymore in wrestling. So the fact that you were able to do that is really cool, that you were able to pull that off. And it does make it, I think it makes it more enjoyable for the fans. I don't think it is good when stuff like that gets leaked out, so to speak.
Yeah, well, and that's it's there's so many. Go back my entire career. It's your career. It is those moments that we, as a fan, and I was a fan like you long before we put on a pair of boots. But that's part of the magic. You're like, oh my God, I never thought I'd see that. Or Lawler versus Terry Von Erich. Oh my God, I never thought I'd see that matchup. Well, you got to see it. Well, this is something that as legend continued to grow over the years. Jeff Jarrett, there's zero chance of him and Vince ever even having a cordial conversation. And lo and behold, it obviously came out a lot more than us having a conversation. So I'm excited. I really am. I'm super excited for New Orleans. And I will say this, on the very first call that I had, we talked about, and I won't go into it, but who's going to induct me, but also, ask about you, because Jarrett goes without saying. I was a fan of Jerry Lawler long before I got to be around you and got to work with you, and then as we go through the years. So, the big part that you play on that night, it's special. It is. It is special in so many ways.
Well, I mean, it's going to be, hopefully I'm going to be hosting again this year. I've been doing that for a number of years, and hopefully that'll continue on. And that's one of the things that really make that night special to me, is when you really you basically you know everybody that's getting inducted at on some level because you've worked with them over the years and everything. But then when it's somebody like you, Jeff, that I've known or at least your entire life, that really makes it unique. So I'm looking forward to it almost as much as you are. Now, I remember back 11 years ago when I got the call about being inducted, Vince McMahon actually called me himself and said, King, I'll never forget the conversation. He said, King, we're going to induct you in the Hall of Fame this year. And I went, no. And he said, no, what do you mean no? And I said, well, and I went on to explain to him that, I don't know about you, but I always looked at Hall of Fames, especially like baseball and football, as something you got inducted into after you had an amazing career and your career was over and you were basically retired and sitting on the sidelines, and then they honored you for your career. And so that's what I explained to Vince. I said, well, I don't feel like my career's over. I'm going to continue to wrestle and still do to this day, 11 years later. And then he had to take some time to explain to me. He said, no. He said, this is not about making it seem like your career is over in any way. It's just we just want to honor you for all that you've accomplished up till now in your career and everything that you've done here in the WWE. So then when he explained all that to me, I was okay with it, and the fact that JR was going in, on the same year and all that sort of stuff, then I was okay with it. But who called you and what were your first feelings when you got that call?
Well, I'll answer that. A WWE executive called me, and so I will leave that there. But I literally was, and it's no secret. I had an up and down year, a lot more down in 2017 than up. So I'm literally X amount of days, 2 weeks out of treatment, and I just had to sit there, and I got the text on Sunday morning, can you chat real quick? And and Karen's in there getting ready for church, and it's like I got asked that question, and I'm like, huh? I truly was speechless, and this is what I did say. I said, is this like a yes or no? Are you asking me? Am I supposed to say like yes or maybe, or give me some time to think about it? I'm like, this just didn't. It didn't add up to me.
Well, how exactly did they put it to you? Did they say, hey, we've made the decision, or were they like like asking you, or what?
Yes, they said we have, and I'll leave the names because I don't know how much confidential, but there is a group that had a discussion, and they said, we've decided that we would like to offer you an invitation to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you really, let me get back with you. Let me think on this. Let me get with my people.
I bet you're thinking, is this a rib? Is this like the ultimate rib they're playing on me, or what?
I can tell you this: the next conversation I had with the person who's gonna induct me said, yeah, Jeff, good rib. Yeah, right. And I said, well, take it for what it's worth. And he was in the middle of something. He said, I'll talk to you tonight. But yeah, it was really surreal. And then the very next day, a guy that heard about it, I'll say that, and he said what I was thinking. Oh shit, Jeff, I'm too young. What are you talking about?
There you go.
I hadn't had enough of a career. I hadn't had a career long enough to do that, and I believe that. And I'll say this, I walked out of the gym on Monday, and it was announced, and they told me what time, and NBC Sports, because obviously I did the interview at the end of last week. And the very first text I got, and I told this to Karen, and I told it to another buddy of mine, which it just sort of like, wow, okay, this is real. What's Flair? Rick texts me 3 minutes after the announcement came out, welcome to the club, proud of you, Jeff, happy for you. So I just thought, wow, that's pretty damn cool. It was really cool, and I will never forget me saying, is this a yes or no? Like you're asking? Of course I'll do this. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty surreal. You know, when I looked in it over the days and weeks after it, you know, and I don't know if you've had the flu bug this year, Jerry, but I never get sick. Like you never get sick. The flu bug put me in bed for a couple of days, but as I was in the bed looking at it, there's less than 200 of us in it. And when you think about all the guys in all the territories, and then WCW and WWF and all the, you know, the thousands and thousands of guys that have put on their boots, and there's less than 200 of us in the Hall of Fame. That's pretty special. It really is.
You're right. And wait till you get there in New Orleans, and wait till you get one of those new programs in your hand where you can leaf back through and see all of those guys that you're talking about, starting with Andre the Giant, and then just look at the pictures and look at those names as you go through the pages, and then all of a sudden you'll come up on your own picture. And I'm telling you, that is going to be the next time you'll just feel like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah, I still say that. I when I looked on the app of who was in it, I don't know. I'm like, I don't belong there. It's you know, it's that simple. I still see myself being the semi-main event every week in Memphis for the King. I do. In my mind, that, you know, you just go, wow, that's something else. So it goes without saying, it's really special. It's really unique. And I've had some guys here that I'll say are outside of the wrestling bubble, and there's fewer and fewer of those people out there. But they ask about is there a Cooperstown? Is there this? And I said, no, but I said, in my lifetime, I feel certain there will be. I said, because, and they said, well, why do you say that? I said, because I got a text from a guy at WWE who went to the warehouse and took a picture, and now I have not had home that light up Double J suit since 1997 or 8 or whatever. They still got it. They showed me a picture. It looks like it. I mean, they've obviously had it sealed for 20 years. So I told myself, if they have that, they have so much memorabilia. And whether it's in the New York City area or the Orlando, I think those are the two natural areas. If it's in Orlando with NXT and the Performance Center, you know, the world's greatest tourist attraction, it will be, hell, I will buy my ticket to be the first in line to see all that kind of memorabilia. Because, you know, I know you well enough. You're a collector of Coke and among other things. But, you know, I'm a collector of wrestling stuff. And that kind of stuff, as the old saying goes, I will mark out on it.
Well, that's one of the cool things every year about Access at WrestleMania. You know, they do bring out a lot. Well, not even, it is a lot, but I'm sure it's only a portion of what, like you said, of all the collection of memorabilia that the WWE possesses. But they do bring a lot of that out, and the fans get to go through and see a lot of that stuff. And I would bet you that jacket will make an appearance this year at the WrestleMania Access, which would be a cool thing. But yeah, I would love to see them actually have a brick and mortar, you know, a building, a home for the Hall of Fame. Somebody actually, I saw a tweet the other day, and we get all, especially down here in Memphis. Somebody said Vince McMahon should buy the Mid-South Coliseum because it's just sitting there in great condition, but it's just being mothballed. He said they should buy the Mid-South Coliseum and make the WWE Hall of Fame in that building, you know, and it would be a centrally located location in the whole United States. But I'm like you know, Orlando I think would be cool because so many people from all over the world visiting Disney World, and now NXT is there and everything. Or New York City. With all the tourists there would be great too. But I just wish that they would go ahead and get that done and get an actual place that people could visit from time to time.
Well, it's a publicly traded company. It's all about the bottom line, and I truly believe it's a moneymaker. I really do. And
I do too.
And, you know, you talk about the jacket being, you know, I got a call, not, you know, as the dominoes started falling and all of this, and, you know, the ring size for your ring and just all the things that go into April 6th, they started asking, hey, do you have, and I said, let me cut you off. I said, this is, I've gone through 2 houses and 3 remodels, but about 15 years ago, it was right during the TNA time, because I'd moved the stuff around, but a buddy of mine, we got a warehouse, and I vacuumed these sealed the bags up. I got every pair of tights starting from 1986. Wow. There's only 2 or 3 that I've give away over the years. So I went over there not long ago and brought about half of it, and I've got to make another trip with boots and all that kind of stuff. So they want me to dig through the different eras, but all the Memphis jackets were in there, and I was finishing up at the gym, and I scrolled through y'all's Twitter, that video that you guys put on Dinner with the King today, the old AWA and some of the Memphis stuff, me against Bachwinkle, me against Kurt Hennig, and I was looking at those jackets, so I just saw them the other day. So, yeah, it's going to be fun. That is what it goes without saying, what WWE does so well, the fan experience that weekend. The guy was telling me about Access and Andre and all the stuff. It'll be a sort of a Double J exhibit. So I'm excited, and they're actually going to try to get it to light up.
Well, that'll be great.
They're actually, yeah.
Let's go back for just a minute if we can and talk about, and you're going to have to do most of the talking because my memory is just like I've got that CRS, if you know what that means. Anyway,
I got early stages of CRS.
Okay, but when you first started, of course, once again, what year was it when you really had your first match?
Well, in King, this is what's surreal. April 6th of 2018 is the induction ceremony. April 6th of 1986 is the date of my first match, which means April 4th, 1986, you were sitting at your house on Walnut Grove and you made the call. No, that was a month before. My bad, because that was the interview with the Angle when you made the comeback. But anyway, April 6th of 86 is when I had my very first match. But in March is when you came back from the loser leave and the situation with Dundee and Landell and all that kind of stuff. But me and Tony Falk stepped in the squared circle and did our 10-minute Broadway, April 6th of 86.
Man, that's so crazy. When you talk about when you say those numbers, doesn't it just sound it just sounds unreal, doesn't it?
Yes. I mean it's crazy. I mean it's crazy that this April will be my 32nd year, and I'm really gonna make you feel good here, Glenn.
Oh,
Don't
boy.
hang up. I mean, when I got in, you were in your prime. It was not like you were a greenhorn when I got. I mean, you had, it was 86, so 80 to 85 was when the territory, or 79 to 85 was when you guys were red hot.
Sure. Jeff, I started. You say 86. I started in 1971, 47 years ago.
Unbelievable.
And when I say that really does sound crazy. But
well, here's what
I remember going with Jerry. But now that I think about it, I don't think this was you. I think it was Tommy Rich. But I remember going in the barn over at Jerry's place, or down at there in Hendersonville, and I think that was Tommy Rich that he and I were working with and trying to train. Did I ever work out with you before as training?
But buddy, and this is where CRS hadn't got me too bad. That's when it was the I'll call it, you affectionately or unaffectionately, the big house. I don't know if that's but on that property is where the barn was, and you had come up, and I believe you had the old dreaded Memphis to Louisville trip, and you had come up and had stopped by, and you came back there. Is it Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday? You might have come back from Evansville, and you were headed to Lexington the next day. But yes, you got up in there, and I could. I don't even know if we've ever talked about this. If we have,
I don't think so.
It's 28 years. I can remember just, excuse my French, scared shitless because Tony and there were some other guys, but I'm like, oh my God, this is Lawler's in the ring with what? I was scared to death, and I didn't hear a word you said or my dad said or anything. But I can remember that kind of deal, and I this is crazy. I can remember walking back up to the barn, and I'm fresh out of basketball and still going on and all that kind of stuff. All that, but the thing that went through my mind is, wow, it was just a couple years ago, because that was when I was living with my mom when the Letterman show came on, and you did the thing with Andy and all that. I'm like, shit, just a couple of years ago, I'm sitting on my couch and the Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler thing, and I bit hook, line, and sinker And I'm like, wow. And now he's in the ring teaching me to wrestle. It was surreal. You may have trained Tommy, but you certainly got up in the ring with me and worked with me.
Yeah, I do remember that. In that the steaming hot barn down there. And Jerry had set up a ring in there. And I'm sure the session didn't last too long, because that's the main thing I remember. It was about 200 degrees in there.
Well, and here was the deal. We did that original angle where I was the referee, Jeff Leonard and Lawler, Dundee and Landell beat me up, and I did the old flurry, beat up Bill's ribs and all that kind of stuff. But I can remember you like, okay, I'm like, why is he down here? And well, okay, you were booking and this and that, and I was going to be wrestling, and you're like, no, do this and try to do, you were given pointers, you were training, and God bless your soul, 100-degree barn, and you were on the way downtown. I
wasn't much on training anybody to wrestle, so to speak, as far as wrestling moves, but I think I might have helped you in trying to throw a punch. That was the main thing I would try to show people is how to throw punches. I'm pretty proud of the fact that a lot of guys like Eddie Gilbert and a lot of guys really got those punches down well,
Yeah, well, and it goes without saying, and this is what, when I do seminars and go out and do all that kind of stuff, I sort of tell them, I said, if you're in front of the crowd, like we were in Nashville, Louisville, Evansville, Memphis, weekly, hip tosses and backdrops and flying head scissors, and if you really want to get crazy, throw in a couple other moves. It's all moves that you need, but the punch, one punch, and I think Glenn tweeted that a couple of weeks ago after we worked in Memphis. A good punch goes a long, long way in a match. I don't have to tell you. I don't have to tell you that, but yes, if you can punch, it certainly carries us a long way in Memphis.
Well, I was just before I came over here this morning, I'm putting together some videos for. I got this new show, Jeff, and I need to have you come down to Memphis and be on it. We're going back and doing classic Memphis wrestling TV shows every week. Starting in April, we're gonna be on every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock, our old TV time for forever here in Memphis. And so, and my special guest on this week's show is going to be Dave Brown. And so I'm going back and I'm looking for different, footage featuring Dave and that sort of stuff. And just this morning I came across a clip of a match of me against Jackie Fargo, and I was like mesmerized when I saw how, and I think that's where I learned was from Jackie Fargo. But the punches that Jackie Fargo threw, and he even cut an interview beforehand with Dave Brown saying, I'm not much of a wrestler, but he said, I'm a mean and I'm your honor, and I'll fight with the best of them and brawl with the best of them. And that's what I learned from was Jackie Fargo, and his punches were just phenomenal. I mean, when I watched that this morning, I was just like, I said, dang, he was good. And so, if you can impart that and just watch people like that, it's hard to tell somebody how to do it, but if they get an opportunity to watch somebody or be around somebody that was really good at that, it's invaluable.
Well, can I tell a story on you, Jerry? And Glenn,
Sure.
You could substitute any wrestler because we worked together, weekend from 86 to 93. I know you didn't make every town, and you went to WWE around 92-ish, whatever. But we've worked a lot of shows together, and you can plug and play any young wrestler coming through our territory, and the people would be rocking and rolling and all this, and the guy would come through the dressing room and just think they did great. And Jerry was never, ever bashful. Come here. What the F was that? And I knew it was coming, but most of these guys, but Lawler, your point was so spot on. Look, it's easy to work in front of a sellout crowd. When we've got this crowd out here, everything you do is magnified, and your punches were the shits. They were horrible. And then, if a guy had a decent punch, and here's the best thing, here was my takeaway. 9 great punches in a row, okay, good. You throw one bad one, you killed the entire tank.
Right.
You know, or the match,
The entire
or whatever
match,
it may
right.
be. Yeah, the entire match, and that wisdom, believe me, I listened, Jerry, whether you thought I did or not back in those days. I did listen, but it was so appropriate, and that was, you know, you didn't care. You did, but you really didn't. You care less about hip tosses and all that. But it was a simple psychology, and when it was time for the comeback, that heel better feed, and you better be throwing a good punch, or don't throw it. And you made that point many, many times to guys, and it sunk in.
And you know what?
Sunk in me because
you telling me that story reminds me. I guess I'm still that way because I just worked I worked Friday night in Glen Burnie, Maryland, right outside of Baltimore, with James Ellsworth. You remember the no chin guy, James Ellsworth?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, so here we are. We're working a match, and this is his hometown, right? So he comes up with the idea. He says, "Hey, why don't?" He said, "We got this little small, kind of thin, skinny guy that's even smaller than me." And he said, "What I'd like for you to do is take him out to the ring with you, and tell the people that, you know, you don't even want to waste your time on James Ellsworth. So I brought along this guy that's going to take my place and wrestle James Ellsworth instead." And then the guy goes up in the ring, and James said, he'll go to clothesline me and I'll duck, and then I'll hit him with the super kick, right? Or the no chin music. And so anyway, I said, okay. So now here we walk out to the ring, and it's complete sellout. The place, it drew really well. I got to give him credit for that. They came out to see him in his hometown, and the place was packed. And so we get out there, and the guy goes up in the ring, and I do my spiel. I said, you know, Ellsworth, you're not even worthy of my time. So I brought along this little guy that's going to take my place. So the guy goes to throw the guy throws the clothesline. Ellsworth ducked, and he throws like the worst kick ever. Missed the guy by like 6 inches, right? And
I can see the look on your face now.
First move, right? So you know what I did? With the microphone, you're right. You can see the look on my face, and I just turned to the whole crowd and I said, "That didn't even look real, did it?"
Classic.
And so it was, I think that's the way I would do, guys. You know, if they came back and they had done something in a match that just didn't look good, I just felt like I couldn't let it go unnoticed.
Well, but that's, you know, look over now. We're talking to a guy who's been, I'm a kid. I've only got 32 years in the business. You got 47. So you definitely know what you're talking about. But no, I can just remember we started talking about punches, and I can remember from the barn, and that was something that I did. I practiced a lot on throwing a good punch.
Well, you mastered it. You really did, and that was great. And we talked about you and I working there in the barn of your dad's, and they're telling me they're waving that we were getting close on time here. But have you talked to your dad about the Hall of Fame? You're of course, for people that may not know, Jeff's dad, Jerry Jarrett, and I were business partners in owning the territory for over 20 years here in Memphis. And so we were really, really close and really tight, and I just wonder what's your dad's reaction to this?
I would love to tell you, and this is classic Jerry Jarrett. He likes to take his trips and his vacations, but he literally, I have not spoken to him yet because him and Jennifer, my sister, for people who don't know, Jennifer and her husband and 3 kids and my dad, and they went up in the mountains skiing, and they got back late last night. So I'm talking to him today. So I'll do a follow-up on dinner.
Wait a minute. Your dad went skiing?
Well, let me say this. He went on the skiing trip.
Oh, okay.
I can assure you, and you will chuckle at this probably. I'm sure he had a stack full of books for him to read, and
okay.
he sat in a room and read while they all went out skiing.
Yeah,
no,
I just couldn't. I could not picture Jerry Jarrett on the slopes.
No, and he wasn't. I'm sure. But no, it'll be interesting to have the conversation. I'm excited. And when NBC Sports asked me during the interview, they said, any closing remarks and something like that, and it just came to me. I said, I'm the lucky one, but my grandmother and Teeny, as we affectionately called her.
Yep.
Uncle Thomas, who's on the other side of my family, who's was a wrestling referee. Eddie Marlin, my grandfather, who's a promoter. There's a lot of people. Jerry, I don't have to tell you, but I'm telling the audience that I'm going to accept this on behalf because without Teeny getting in the business and working for your old boss Nick Goulas, there would be no Jarretts in the wrestling business. It's just that simple. And I'm well aware of that. And Teeny was really good to me and really shrewd and taught me a lot of really simple fundamental basics about the business and really got me engaged at an early age. Before I got in the business, you need to learn about hanging window cards and pulling the ring and concession stands and that kind of stuff. So outside of the ring, Teeny taught me a lot. And so I'm accepting the Hall of Fame on behalf of my entire family. And it goes without saying, my dad played a major, major role of me in this business. So I'm grateful for that and excited for him as well.
Well, I'm sure when you talk to him, he'll be proud, as Teeny is right now, up in heaven. Your Uncle Thomas, Eddie Marlin, all of those people got to be, just bursting with pride, as I am for you, Jeff. I mean, it's great to see somebody that you had a hand in, helping them get their start to make it as far as you've made it here, to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. So congratulations. And if we're sort of out of time here right now, but I want to say, I'll see you, of course, in New Orleans, but I want you to come and be on the TV show, and I want you to come back on the podcast again, because we just didn't even scratch the surface about Memphis wrestling. And I love our podcast fans are really into listening about, love to hear the stories, our old Memphis stories. So if you'd come back again, and let's talk some old Memphis stories then.
I absolutely would love to. And, when it just came out of me out, be a part. And Jerry, you don't realize what a part you were because I didn't bug you with questions, but I watched everything. And if there's one match I watched just about every night in Memphis, it was your match. And then, I tell people, and I just got asked this, that's why I'll bring it up. And I know, Glenn, we're going over time, but people were asking me about different eras, and obviously the Double J era, the Attitude era came up and all that. But I said, when you really go back and look at my career, Lawler was the voice of so many of us. Specifically as a heel, JR was the play-by-play and great at what he did. But you being who you are, specifically during that Attitude era, you were the one who gave, as JR would say, the lyrics to the Double J character. And I'll never forget, we'll come back and talk on it, but when the lighted up jacket burned holes through my shoulders and you stood side by side and carried on that interview, there's so many memories. So, yes, I'd love to come back and chat about it. I appreciate you having me on and really looking forward to see you in New Orleans.
All right, Jeff, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, that was Jeff Jarrett here on Dinner with the King. We got to get Jeff back on very, very soon, King. Absolutely. So many more things we can talk to Jeff about. Did you enjoy teaming with Jeff or going one-on-one against Jeff? You did both. I enjoyed both. I really did. Well, more. And one of the things that we didn't even get to touch on, Jeff and I had a match as a tag team. I'm almost certain it was in Kennett, Missouri, against the Moondogs. And if you think that it was one of the original guys that Bill Dundee and I had the Tupelo concession stand battle with. That was Moondog Spot and Wayne Ferris, but they were calling themselves the Blonde Bombers at the time. And so then later on, Jeff and I had a Kennett concession battle with the Spot, Moondog, and I'm not sure if it was Cujo or who, but anyway, it rivaled. It was as good as the Tupelo concession stand battle, and we got footage of that. So, that's just some of the stuff we can talk about. I honestly think I enjoyed teaming with Jeff more than I did wrestling against him. Yeah, there was a lot of different clips that I sprinkled in throughout the show. But, going back and watching you guys, wrestle for the unified title, but also having the tag team title gold, get the best of both worlds when it came to Jeff and Memphis.
Jimmy Hart,
Look around you, boy. There's got to be somebody else up there. Send somebody else down there. Better yet, you come yourself, you little scrawny sawed-off punk, and we'll show you what the USWA is all about down here. Tracy Smothers and Mr. Hughes. Tracy Smothers got a bad attitude lately, hasn't he?
You know, Jerry, we was just talking about that also. I remember me and Tracy, he started about 2 years before me, but I remember him when I first started. He was a pretty nice guy, but he seems like he went down to the WCW like other guys do, and they think they're real big time. They think they're big shots. But like Jerry said, now that everybody's recognizing the USWA World Tag titles, they got to come into our backyard, and that's the best part of it, because we got the best fans here in the Mid-South Coliseum. Mr. Hughes, Tracy Smothers, come on down, and you just take a shot at these belts, and all you can do is look at them, because you ain't taking them from us.
Have we got?
Yeah, we didn't even get to touch on. We barely touched on some of the matches and some of the things that he did in the WWE. I mean, you know, him and that guitar, ain't I great? It was just. I had such fun commentating on his matches up there, and you know, we fellow Tennesseans and all that sort of stuff, and the, you know, liking the country music and different things like that. It was a lot of fun. And then of course he had a lovely valet there with him for a good length of time. So yeah, we got to get him back and talk about go into more depth about both his Memphis career and his WWE career,
and talk about Slapnuts.
I saw a little video the other day when what was it from, where he's walking down the hall and all of a sudden he passes Beetlejuice. And then, did I ever tell you the story about me and Beetlejuice when Beetlejuice was in the movie with me, Girls Gone Dead?
No, I don't think so.
Well, that'll be, remind me, and we'll talk about that next week. But anyway, yeah, Beetlejuice passes Jeff Jarrett and says something about slap nuts to him. And Jeff turns around and blasts him right over the head with that guitar and left Beetlejuice. He was just laying there quivering. It was just great.
You know, watching some of these promos that Jeff did, he wasn't very strong on the mic, you know, in his early on in his career. He did improve, but those Slapnut promos in WCW were just terrific. But my favorite time of Jeff Jarrett was in WWF, and his manager was good old Tennessee Lee.
Greatest promoter, Tennessee Lee.
All right, Albany, New York, for that matter, all of the world, are you ready for the greatest star of all? Let's all get up on our feet and show him the proper respect he deserves. That's right, folks. He's J-E-double-F, J-A-double-R-E-double-T. It's Double J, James Jarrett. Ain't he great?
Oh, yeah.
Formerly-
Robert Fuller,
yeah,
right?
Robert Fuller, formerly Colonel Robert Parker. World's greatest promoter, Tennessee Lee, coming out. But that was, him talking about the jacket that lit up, the Double J with the glasses and the hat. A lot of
I
great.
remember when Jeff first was leaving the Memphis territory to go up to the WWE, and it was like the whole deal. He was going to have an entire entourage, and Frank Morrell was going to be a part of it. I'm not sure it's Billy Travis or, but of course Robert Fuller. There were several that all of a sudden it was like, boy, oh boy, we're going to the WWE, right? And then I think it got pared down to nobody but just Robert Fuller made the trip with him, and that was short-lived actually. But some of his buddies who, and it wasn't Jeff's fault. Jeff didn't. I just think, the creative changed their mind about having an entire entourage, and then all of a sudden some of those guys like Frank Morrell and some of them got left behind in Memphis, and they were upset big time.
I know I talked about the Hall of Fame throughout this podcast, and whenever his Jeff Jarrett's name brought up, it's always like, well, hell would freeze over before Jeff Jarrett's in the WWE Hall of Fame. Well, it might be chilly down there now because Jeff's in the Hall of Fame. But
you're not kidding.
But it's a name that I never would have thought would be either back with WWE in any form or fashion, but let alone to be recognized in the Hall of Fame. And I know it's it's a gimmick, it's McMahon's, Hall of Fame, but it's an honor to everybody who's in it. I'm not taking away from that from anybody,
sure.
including you, King.
Like Jeff said, there's only 200
Right.
people in there.
Yeah, but I never would have thought that Jeff Jarrett would be, recognized on that level for the Hall of Fame on Hall of Fame weekend. But that's going to be interesting to watch and to hear, and it's good to see that Vince.
You know who's another Memphis guy that I would love to see get in there is Kamala.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I mean, he had a good run not only in Memphis but a lot of places, and then a big good run there in the WWE. And of course, falling on rough times, both his legs amputated and everything. But I think he's kind of deserving of that too.
If you weren't being the host of the ceremony itself, King, I would offer you up to be the inductor for Jeff Jarrett. But he mentioned that it's cool to have you there hosting the event, and then he didn't mention who his inductor is, but I'm sure it's going to be a close relationship to him and his career.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there's there's a lot of people that would be closer to Jeff than I was. I mean, we have a lot of history, and we've been friends in the entire life and everything. But still, once he got into the business, I think there's probably some closer friends, and I'm sure that's who's going to be doing the inducting.
All right, King, what do you got going this weekend? Anything?
This weekend, I just got added a quick appearance. I'm going to be down Saturday and Sunday down in Tupelo, Mississippi, the site of that famous Tupelo concession stand battle. Going to be down there making an appearance at the. Let me see exactly. I don't want to make a mistake on what it's actually called. It is the World of Customs Auto Show, which these things are all over the country. Like this is it's not the World of Wheels, it's the World of Customs Auto Show. They got a bunch of custom cars that are going to be there, and some different people. I'm going to be there making an appearance, signing some autographs. They got the Blues Brothers car from the movie. They've got Smoking the Bandit car and a truck, and just a bunch of cool custom cars. And it's a fun thing. It's going to be at the. Let me see exactly where it is. Tupelo. Oh, it's called the Tupelo Furniture Market. That's their big, in Mississippi, they're big that's a big furniture producing state, probably the biggest in the country. And so anyway, they have this huge, their convention center has been named the Tupelo Furniture Market. So that's where it's going to be. I'm going to be there Saturday, I think, starting at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then I'll be there Sunday again, starting at 10 o'clock.
There you go.
So if you're down in the Tupelo, Mississippi area, come on by and see the King, and we'll hang out. And if the weather was a little better, I'd take my Batmobile down there. But man, we got miserable weather here in Memphis for about 4 days. We're going to get like 7 inches of rain over these 4 days.
Jeez.
Yeah. What do y'all got going when you get back to Cleveland? What's the weather like up there?
It's supposed to be warmer than usual. It was 75 degrees the other day.
Wow.
In Cleveland, it was great, but it was
we had it here in Memphis for.
Well, yeah, but you're further south. When I come down here, it's always warmer, and then I go back to snowy or cold Cleveland. It was nice to be able to wear shorts and a T-shirt in February.
Well, all I want to know is what's it going to be like in April up in Cleveland?
I think it'll be chilly.
Right after WrestleMania.
It's going to be chilly. But you're going to be coming to the area, though.
Yes, I am, man. Going to wrestle in Sandusky, Ohio, and in Lorain, Ohio. Lorain is where when we first moved up to the Ohio area, we moved into Lorain, 807 6th Court Street, believe it or not. And so anyway, but I'm going to be wrestling in Sandusky one night and Lorain one night, and then we're going to get to go to a couple Cleveland Indians games.
And I'm booked.
That's like right after the start. That's right at the start of the season, isn't it?
It is, and I'm booked that Saturday night in Sandusky doing commentary.
Woo!
So you'll be wrestling. Are you going
to go to the Indians games with me?
If I'm invited.
What does that mean? Like I got to buy you a ticket?
No, I can buy my own ticket. Well, I got the futon ready for you, King. For you when you come up to Cleveland.
Well, I'm bringing Lauren.
Well, just don't break the futon with Lauren.
I think the futon at your place is going to work.
Just don't break it, all right?
Oh, okay. All right.
That's going to wrap it up. Thanks to Jeff Jarrett for coming on the podcast. Short notice. I know he's a very busy week. with the announcement. Look for him to come on, very quickly to talk about Memphis days and having on for more than a half an hour. Any final words, King?
I think he was on for more than a half an hour today.
Yeah, I think it was around 35. I think with 35 minutes,
45 maybe.
No,
Who knows?
But no, he was non.
No, I have no final words except please, just this once, pick up the tab, pay the check.
All right, I'll do it.
Or at least leave a tip.
I got it. I'll do the tip and the check.
Woo!
So you're good.
Happy days are here again.
So you're good. All right, we'll talk to everybody next week. If you have any questions for the King, make sure to tweet us at Dinner with King. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube. So make sure to connect with us via the social media, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Yeah, and real quick, like you're talking about Twitter, I just want to get this last word in there. I love Twitter. So if you listen to the podcast, tag me and tweet about it, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, or just tell us where you listen and just tell us that you do listen. Put it on Twitter and tag me at Jerry Lawler.
Well, how about we do this? We did it a few times in the course of the year. How about people who listen to this to the end right now? If they make it through, this long podcast.
Right.
If you're listening right now, tweet a photo of where you're at. If you're at work, if you're on the beach, or if you're fishing, if you're in the car, in the truck, whatever you're doing, take a photo and tweet at us and tag Jerry, tag me at Glenn Moore CLE, tag the show at Dinner with King, and let us know where you're listening and what you like best about the podcast.
What if they're doing something naughty in the background and the podcast is just on in the background?
Dude, I don't think anybody...
You want to take a picture or something?
I don't think anybody listens to the podcast while they're doing the deed.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay.
Do you? Do you listen to the show?
No, I do not. No.
Alexa, play Dinner with the King. All right, we'll talk to you everybody next week.
The preceding show is a Pod Avenue production.